introducing our new series. We're so excited to bring to you our customer service series. There will be 4 of these sessions, and Rochelle is leading the first 2. Then I'll snag them from her and finish us off with the last 2. Now, here's the thing, as some of you know, we do love to hear from you, and so please use the chat as our opportunity to converse with one another. Just above me are your emoji buttons, also a place to ask any other questions. If you don't want to use the chat, that's okay. You can use the question box above. Also, you can use private chat if you needed to chat with us. I'm listed here as Carrie, but I'm listed here as Workplace Education Manitoba, and Rochelle is Rochelle. So that's so great. Also, Rochelle has popped into the chat. So there's a chat box on the left-hand side of your screen. If you can open that attendee chat, that's you. And in there is the learner handout. So if you haven't already done so, go ahead and snag that, download it, as we'll be using our handouts throughout this series. Now, Rochelle, she knows. She's already hopped in and said hello from Selkirk. Welcome, welcome to our new series. So exciting. And so if you want to hop in, let us know where you're joining from or your favorite color, whatever it is, let us know that you found the chat and that we know how to interact in that way. So today, traits of a customer service pro. It's funny, isn't it, how important customer service is, especially as we work, live, and shop globally. Now, as an introduction to Workplace Education Manitoba, our vision is that all Manitobans have access to the essential skills, knowledge, and training required to determine and pursue their goals related to learning, the workplace, and life. Guess what? Spoiler alert, we have customers everywhere. We have customers in our home, with our in-laws, with our co-workers. They're also our customers as well as our clients that we serve. But keeping in mind that we can take this information and apply it to various areas of our lives. We want to give a thanks to our funders, Employment and Social Development Canada, and Manitoba Education and Training. This project is jointly funded through Human Resources, Skills Development Canada, and Entrepreneurship Training and Trade. And if you're curious for more information, we have our contact info at wem.mb.ca, or even our flagship, as you can tell, I can't type in chat, web address there, wem.mb.ca, if you're curious about more information on that. We are here to help people develop essential skills. We'll talk about that in just 1 second. I also wanted to let you know about our West Center. West isn't just a location, it's an actual place. The West stands for Workplace Essential Skills Training Center. We have one located in Selkirk, and they're located throughout the province. We have multiple offices. Now, for us in the Interlake, we can handle some workplace assessments to find out where you're at with your learning with regards to computer skills, writing, numeracy, aka math, anything like that. We can help you with that. Now, we will come to you virtually in this moment, but we can come into your workplace and do workplace training and customize that on our 9 essential skills. And so keeping that in mind, that's an option for you as well. We love when we can have these community workshops because we so learn from one another, and that's really important that we're able to gather here from different industries and yet still have this impact with one another and being able to learn from one another. Thanks, Corey. It's good for you to be here too. We love it. Now, before I haul Rochelle in here to teach us all of her wise wisdom here from Customer Service Land, I just wanted to point out our 9 essential skills, and also we'll have a quick survey to complete in just a moment. So our 9 essential skills are reading, writing, document use, digital literacy, numeracy, oral communication, working with others, thinking skills, and continuous learning. And you think customer service, man, we're hitting on a lot of these essential skills, especially our oral communication and the way that we interact with our customers. And we are from a variety of different industries, and we can go ahead and learn from one another as well as look at these 9 essential skills. So if we look at Some of the other skills that we might use with customer service, working with others, clearly. I had a conversation recently and they're like, well, I just don't get along with them because of their personality. Well, guess what? Customer service, we don't really have that choice, do we? And so we really want to be able to take the high road and be that great customer service provider. So I have for you here the link to our quick survey. Oh, look at us. Use Rochelle's. Mine's longer. So you can click on the link that Rochelle has posted here for you. I'm going to zip it for just a moment. We are a team. High five. And so I'll be quiet so you can go ahead and complete that survey. Alrighty, thanks everybody. If you're still finishing up, please still hit that submit button. It means so much to us. Now I wanted to invite in Rochelle. As you know, Rochelle is amazing. She is a customer service pro. She has worked in customer service for a super long time. And if we think about it, we all probably have worked in customer service a long time. Rochelle is a continuous learner herself, working on her finishing up her degree in leadership, which thank goodness for that. We can feel all of her brilliance. And so I'd like to invite Rochelle in right now to take the reins and lead us through this customer service session. Thanks, Rochelle.
Hey, thanks, Terry. Great to see everyone this morning. Tell me in the chat where you're coming from. What city are you in? I'm in the beautiful city of Selkirk, Steel Town, as it were. For locals, you may know that term. Warren, I just drove through Warren not long ago. Morden, let's have some corn and apples. Love it. St. Andrews, beautiful. Lac-Dew, I love Lac-Dew. Oh, and most of the Granite Mountain. Welcome, Granite Mountain, here as a group. Jen's with us from Oak Bank. Michelle from Pine Falls. I was just in Pine Falls a week ago. How great is that? Morden, the Paw. Oh, you guys, you're making me want to staycation here in Manitoba. I love it. This phrase, customer service, what does this mean to us? Oh, and I see a shout out to Garson too, right on. I love it. Folks, this is one thing customer service meant to me today. I went to get tea. For those of you who've taken a workshop with me before, you know I might be addicted to my tea. And I just put it in my travel mug and brought it to the office. And I saved it for this moment. And guess what? It's coffee. Boom, boom, boom. Crying emoji. Sad times. My customer service experience is that I got the wrong drink in the drive-thru. Thank you. Thank you for your sympathy. I appreciate it. But those of us who have joined in today, we know that customer service is more than just what kind of drink we order in a drive-thru. It's really a lifestyle. It's really how we shape culture. It's really our experience in every business across every industry. So while I look at today's objectives with you, I wonder if you could share with us in the chat, what industry are you representing today? Maybe you're currently employed, and so if you're employed in manufacturing or sales or retail, go ahead and put an industry in. If you're not currently employed, maybe put the industry that you feel attached to, that you're wanting to work towards or you've come out of. But share with us in the chat the types of industry that we're representing today. As we work through today's objectives, one common bond we're all going to share, we're all connected here, we have a bond going. And the bond is that regardless of industry, we are all in this business of serving our customers. We're all in this industry of building relationships with customers who are in or outside of our organization, internal or external customers. I see in our industry chat here, we have people joining from government, different sales and event management, sales and the construction industry, countertops. If anyone needs countertops, I'm sure Amy's happy to put her company name in the chat, but truly, go ahead, give your company a pitch if anybody wants to. Feel free. Working for a Chamber of Commerce and 40 years in retail. Sandra, my soul sister. I've done so much retail. I've got the detail on the retail. Manufacturing, financial. Look at all you producers manufacturing things. And of course, Carrie's joining us from the education perspective. I love it. You guys, no matter where we are, these are the bases we're all going to cover. Now, you may have noticed in your welcome email when you signed up for today, we did ask you to prepare a thought for us. And the question of the day was, just imagine a great experience where you get to be the customer. Tell us in the chat box one reason why you love it at that place. So don't give me the company name that you love. We're not going to go there, but tell me what it is you love. Why do you go? There's mine. I'll start you out. One of my favorite places to shop in Selkirk. They know me by name, and they know the kinds of products that I need or am looking for or prefer. I absolutely love it, and I know their names too, and so I'm fiercely loyal to them. And Marina shares that experience. What a thing when they know who you are and you have that personal connection. Carrie, I love what you've shared. You've collaborated with this company in the past, and not only do they know you, but they know what your usual is. Oh, I love that connection to be able to have that. Marina, what you've shared is so incredible, that they're always smiling. That's one of my top 3 pieces. That whole concept of warmth is one of the things that drives me in life. I love it. And Amy, there's that trust Amy brings in here where they don't push the products on her that she doesn't want. That is actually trust and respect, isn't it? And Sandra, oh, looking at the whole environment of the space you love and what the staff create for you, that the staff create an amazing experience. Oh, I love it. I love the library. Can we just reopen libraries? And I'll meet you all there, because I just love it there. It's so amazing. And Victoria shares that they know her name and ask about her life and how things are going. And they remember the things you talked about. Like a good hairstylist is phenomenal at that. I swear they must keep notes in the back on us so they remember these things every however many months in between visits. But when they know you and they remember and they make those connections, oh man. You guys are so nailing it. You can tell when they love their job. You can tell when coworkers get along. You can tell, like Michelle says, when there's a friendliness and a willingness and eagerness to work with her. And I'm so with you. None of us want to feel like we've interrupted the workers. Isn't it awful when you feel like you've interrupted them? And Michelle shares how they recognize your voice when you call and they address you by your name. And Alaka, I hope I'm saying that right. Feel free to put the phonetic pronunciation in the chat for me. Beautiful name. Alaka, warm, welcoming, and recognizing by name. Isn't it something to be known? It adds a worth. It adds a value. It adds a trust where you'll go back sometimes even with a subpar product just because the people are so great. My favorite, where I shared how they know me, they actually don't have the best price in their particular industry because they're just a small player in a big game. So they can't compete with a Walmart or something like that. And their prices are a little higher. And honestly, I don't mind paying it because the experience is so good. I would rather pay that little bit more to not only help out a local business, but to feel great in the meantime too. People love to define customer service. If you just Google it, there's just a gajillion concepts and definitions. I love this one by Christopher McCormick where it says, customer service is really a day in, day out, ongoing, never-ending, persevering, compassionate kind of activity. Isn't that the truth? Now in your workbooks on page 2, I have a fun little activity for you. Who wants to be a millionaire? Shoot me an emoji across the screen. If you wouldn't mind $25 million coming your way, I wouldn't mind that. Right? Oh, look at those emojis smashing, smashing, smashing. Carrie, it's okay. You don't have to take the full 25 million. We'll just give you $100 and you'll be okay. We're going to pause for a second, and in our workbook on page 2, right at the top, we're going to imagine that we have won $25 million, but it's a little bit different than just your standard lottery. Instead of taking the money and running, there's a test attached to this winning. And the test is you need to take the first $250,000 and use it as startup money to start a business in your town. What business would be needed in your town that you could take money and start it up? Why would you start it up? What would be the business that you would start? Important to give thought to it, because if you can keep that business going for 5 years, you will get the other 24.75 million given to you. So let's think. If the key to getting $25 million meant I could run a business or a service in my town, what business would that be? Go ahead and give that a moment of thought and pop it in the chat when you have an idea. These are so great. These ideas speak so much about where we live and what our towns need and what we're interested in too. The bookstore, coffee shop, and I love it that Jen adds that in too, a coffee/tea shop. And you guys really zoning in on wanting to create an environment for people to connect, an environment where people feel some sort of peace and experience something really positive. Marina, I love your idea. That's my idea too. I would totally open a sports center with an indoor pool to go along with Amy. So Amy, you and I can be lifeguards together at our indoor pool. But all of our Manitoba towns should have an indoor pool, n'est-ce pas? That should be like law. We need a place for recreation in the winter. And a restaurant, Alaka, that's cool. Well, maybe you could join forces with Paula, because Wendy's does have good burgers, I'm not going to lie. And what's with their fries? Like, why are even their fries delicious? I don't get what they do there. And Victoria, a pet store. Very cool. Oh my gosh. And she's got this planned out. And a thousand gallon tank. This is so cool. Okay, I'm just getting a message in here that someone needs a private message. So just give me 1 sec. I want to go offline to help Karen. And let's see, Karen, if that'll work for you, and I'll follow up with you shortly. Love the pet store idea. I don't think we have a place around my town where you can actually buy these small animals. So very cool. Amy, when you're not swimming at your pool, you can go get some fish to put into your pool. I love it. Well, the reason why this exercise is so interesting is because it tells us a little bit about ourselves. It tells not only what do we love and what are we motivated by and how do we want to make a contribution in this world, but it also shows what do we see in our sphere of influence, our town, what do we see as a gap and how do we fill that gap if we had that opportunity. And it's important to recognize that there might be some values inside of me of what I want to bring to the community. And maybe I could do that with my dream job, with my dream business. Or maybe that's something I could do in the business I'm in right now, where it may not be that $25 million winnings idea, but maybe I could affect some change right where I am right now while I wait for that amazing $25 million business deal. If we look at just the literal definitions of customer service, and it is in your workbook for you to take note of, just literal definition is the way an organization deals with customers before, during, and after a sale, and the activities involved in dealing with customers. I find this such a powerful explanation of what customer service actually is, because I submit many people only think customer service is what happens during a sale. And we forget about the preparation, and we forget about the after, and we forget about all the systems and processes involved in getting ready for the moment of the during, right? So in your workbook, circle that it's before, during, and after a sale. That's pre-planning, post-planning, and then that little tiny transaction in the middle when you're dealing with quotes and sales and service. So let's expand our mindset as we launch into this customer service series, recognizing that during the sale is only the little piece that actually is the typical customer service reaction. Whereas in fact, today's session is going to talk about the before piece. It's doing the work before that sale happens so that we're poised for success. Now, things have changed through the years, and I get sad about this sometimes. There's some things about customer service that are really, really great now that weren't before. And there's some things that are a bit of a loss. One of the bit of the lost pieces that I feel is that we sometimes experience that companies want efficiency or speed more than they want value and relationship. And so that's one of the things I mourn, that somehow our culture has put speed, high speed service way up higher than all the other components. And yet there's some hugely positive things to the changes in customer service today too. It used to be you could only reach a banker during banker's hours, right? Very limited. Whereas now there's the 24-hour access. So it's important to be mindful of what some of those changes look like, and recognize even in your workbook you do have a place where you can jot out what you think those changes are, and maybe you have people you're connected with who are older than you, and they got to experience culture years and years ago, and they can give you some insight onto how positive and negative changes have happened in customer service to better inform you of what the reality actually is. Now, there's this little businessman called Sam Walton. You may have heard of him. A little store chain called Walmart. I think it's going to take off and be a big deal. He has this famous quote where he really, although he was the top dog, the founder, the chairman, the CEO, his quote was that really the actual boss is the customer, because the customer decides who gets what, and the customer is in control of the outcomes of that business profitability. So it's important to take a peek at what are the values in this industry we're in. We're in this customer service world, and are there any benefits? We're going to pause for a second and take a peek at page 3. And I would love for you to jot down what are benefits for you doing your job well. There'd be a benefit for you personally, there'd be a benefit for the company, and there'd be a benefit for the customer. So with that in mind, jot down one of the benefits, would you, in your workbook, and feel free to share any one of those with us in the chat. Amazing input, Amy. You're absolutely right. It does affect how everybody feels about the experience, right? Those who work there and those who shop there or do business there. It creates a relationship happiness. It invests in the goodwill between people. And of course, what makes everybody happy is more money for the business. Because as the company succeeds, it makes room for us as employees also. And Marina, great insight. Opportunities to learn and share every day. And Alaka, I love that you can make the connection there, that the benefits can be reciprocal, that you get to benefit in having your own happy reflections to it, but that's also something you can bring to someone else. And not everybody works in a happy-go-lucky service industry. Maybe you don't only get to serve people their favorite meal. Maybe you deliver bad news because you're the call person on telling people about their specialist appointments for medical concerns. And that's not all great news that you get to deliver. And there's benefits and values even in that, where you get to affect an experience that someone else gets to have. And Michelle, you're absolutely right. As we grow, as our company grows, it's a beautiful circle, not a vicious circle. It's a beautiful circle because the company sometimes helps us grow up with what they call us to do and to reach up higher. And there's aspects to what we can contribute to help the company itself grow. Love these contributions you guys are making. You're well-informed, customer-focused professionals. How about this quote? If you're not serving the customer, your job is to be serving someone who is. And this is the concept behind, no matter where you are in the company, at the end of the day, that customer's the boss, so to speak, driving the bottom line of the business. And I know I share this from time to time, but one of the most impactful things I had early on in my career was watching the very dignified, very educated, high-ranking leader of the organization be the one who would pick up the garbage off the ground, who would clean off, on glass doors. They would grab some spray and a cleaner and clean off all the fingerprints. They were modeling that, although they were in this sort of important, prestigious role, they were willing to serve in whatever way they could serve so that every customer would have a really positive experience. Now, there are some questions in your workbook that I want you to save and do later on, particularly if you're going to be joining us in future customer service sessions. So for the next 3 Thursdays, sorry, today's Tuesday. For the next 3 Tuesdays, we're going to be doing this, where we dive into all those things that make customer service work so well. So your reflection questions on page 3 are really to help you consider how your personal behavior causes consequences. It causes ripple effects down the line, and you can take it many steps further than the few questions we've presented for you there. But it's an important first base for everyone in the industry to get on the same page, recognizing that who I am, what I do, does have an impact, and that impact is controlled by how informed and prepared I am for that customer delivery. Love what you're sharing, Sandra. This is like foundational piece, that if you're a leader, if you have someone you supervise or mentor in the workplace, we wouldn't even dare to ask them to do something that they haven't seen us model ourselves, right? We lead by doing, we lead by example. Because customer service isn't just one person. It's not someone with a certain colored shirt on. It's not the person who wears a certain style of hat or sits at a certain desk or answers the phone. It's a philosophy that goes company-wide, and this has really grown in our particular era we live in, where now customers believe that no matter who they're speaking to in the organization, there should be a modicum of decorum. There should be a standard for communication, and there should be a standard for information binding. So customers have adopted that customer service is company-wide and it's a philosophy. Now, how do we do that? So I'm going to ask you a really tough question. Get ready. This is hard, but I believe in you. We can do this. We want to consider mission, vision, and values of companies. So I'm going to throw out a challenge to you, and we're going to give ourselves about 4 or 5 minutes to dig in and make this happen. On your workbook, in your workbook on page 4, I have an activity, and it says, research online 2 different companies' core messages. It can be a vision statement, a mission statement, or a key slogan. If you're currently employed, use your company number 1 project as the place to record this information about your current employer. So let's pick on a couple of our participants today. I heard Amy say Granite Mountains with us. So for example, Granite Mountain Crew, you're going to want to use your company 1 section to find out what is the core mission, vision, or value statement about Granite Mountain. Jot that down in there. And then in the company 2 section, pick any random company. Pick a business you love, a business you hate, doesn't matter, and go onto Google, pop in a separate tab, and find out what's their slogan. Or maybe you know it from a commercial. Maybe they always run the same slogan in a commercial. Go ahead and jot those down. And then I'm going to call you back to share some of the revelations of these. So the company you work for is in section 1, and some random company is in section 2, and then we're going to pull out the key phrases that focus on customer service. Go for it. Okay, now I want you to start blowing up the chat, folks. So in those company slogans that you looked at, or those statements, there would have been some statements that were about the product. Maybe we want a quality manufacturing process. But then there would be some statements or words that shine a focus on the customer. And that could even be about quality. So what is the customer's experience going to be if they deal with our company? So go ahead and blow up my chat with some of the words or phrases that showed you where the focus is on the customer. Oh, this is so awesome. Look at this. Keep putting it in the chat here, folks. This is amazing. Okay, to leave behind more than we take. Yes, right? That's saying we want to contribute to society and adding unique value in every interaction. Marina, that's a great one. I don't know what company you took that from, but that's a great statement because that reflects that those interactions are not only for customers and clients. Those interactions are also internal, right? That's wonderful. Exercise democratic rights to vote. Exactly, sharing the experience with the customer. And we have some folks with us from Decor Cabinet today. And let's see, they've shared to create cabinets people love, yes, to bring light to the world and community, and to build into people's lives and to leave behind more than we take. Okay, is Decor Cabinets hiring? Because everyone in this session today wants to work for that mission statement. That's fantastic. I love it. That's so much outward focus. That really doesn't say we want to make lots of money and be known for being really great. It says we want to make other people's lives better, whether they work with us or shop with us. We believe in being intentional about people around us. Wow, powerful statement. Dedicated to providing quality customer service. And dedicated, such a strong word, isn't it, Jen? That's more than just we provide quality service, but being dedicated to it really speaks to a company's strengths. That's amazing. Carrie, why don't you pop on and interact with this here?
This is like one of my favorite topics is mission, vision, and values. I'm loving this so much. Yeah, You guys are hiring. This is so great. So, yes, promote a favorable business climate for our membership and community, help propel the PA and area to unrivaled economic growth, work on issues of community interest, provide business and leadership, to be the leader in helping Canadians discover a healthier outlook on life. Guys, isn't this amazing? So the thing is, everything we do will support, right, our mission, vision, and values. So in that day-to-day work, checking emails, doing reports, thinking of the things about my job, it's so great to remember our mission, vision, and values. And you think, every time we do a webinar, we could probably have like our own chant with WEM's mission, vision, and values together. But it really does help us to connect with those day-to-day things that we do and to keep that big picture in mind. And I think we can all say that when we're dealing with the customer, this could be a really important thing to remember to keep us kind of grounded in those moments of cray. Yes.
It's amazing. I know Carrie is passionate about doing things from a place of vision, doing things intentionally. Thank you so much for sharing, Carrie.
We dive.
And just to highlight for us all how really we could look at almost any company's value statement, and we'll find that the words place an emphasis on someone else. It's basically saying we only exist if we can help someone else in their existence. And that company too statement that Sandra shared with us in the chat, to be the leader in helping Canadians discover a healthier outlook on life. So even a word like discover, these are not accidental phrases in these mission statements, right? The word discover is somehow trying to ignite a passion and a desire in a customer to do it. They could have used the word educate to help educate Canadians, but discover is a more powerful word for customer engagement. And notice they said healthier outlook on life instead of healthy. So they didn't assume something negative. They just said, we want to take you from strength to strength and add value to your life. So recognizing these keywords around us is important, but especially what they are in our company, because then we know the right answer to succeed and represent well the company we work for ourselves. So we should be very in tune with what those are. All of those goals of reaching the customer, of taking your service to the next level, of being the leader in your industry, believe it or not, they all come down to the 9 essential skills that we drone on and on about here at Workplace Education Manitoba. Oh, the word captivate, Michelle, such a great phrase. It says so much, doesn't it? Not just with attention, but with interest and even vision and dreaming, like our opening exercise of dreaming what is possible. It creates such life in the customers you serve. We're going to dig in and just take a look at the 9 essential skills as our template for success. So some of you may be in a position where you train other workers. So you influence and train new workers, frontline workers, entry-level staff. And as you look at your training plans, as you look at all the bases that you try to cover in what a customer service professional is supposed to know or be able to do, please do not overlook the 9 essential skills. So we've made a place for you to take note of what the 9 are. And I want to walk you through those, and then we're going to pause for a little bit of a break. When we do these longer workshops like this, we do give you a stretching break. So you all can run and make a cup of coffee, and some people love to run outside for a few minutes and just get some fresh air. That's coming up. We will do that, I promise. And if I break my promise, that's why you have Carrie, to make sure that we do that. But first, let's take a glance and how powerful these essential skills are in equipping us in our workplace. Now, this is the essential skills so many people I work with overlook. So many people just think, yeah, I know how to read, cross that off, cross next, what's next? But are you a leader? Do you read? Because leaders are readers. Now, there's all kinds of reading about the workplace, right? We have to be able to read and understand company documents, even things about maybe safety and workplace protocols. But then there's also the idea of reading to understand our industry. So maybe we're in manufacturing. When's the last time you read a book on manufacturing best practices? And how about reading for pleasure? Do you know that with a lot of the reading workshops and the assessments we do here at WAM with career assessments, reading for pleasure is one of the #1 recommendations, because not only do you do something that ignites all these parts of your brain, but you unknowingly increase your own vocabulary. So reading for pleasure, whether it's fiction or non, actually helps you in the workplace, and reading towards the industry you're in also helps you learn the vernacular and the acceptable statements to connect with customers in terms of what they're expecting for you to know. So how many have a book on the go right now? Shoot me an emoji. Do you have something on your nightstand or in your bag, or you got something on the go? Awesome, awesome. Keep it on the go. Keep reading. Don't underestimate it. And you don't have to read words on a piece of paper. I love a good book and holding a book like that. That means something to me, and how the paper feels. That's a treasure to me. But I know learners who are very successful learners by audio books. So get audiobooks going and get reading as a part of your lifestyle, because you're going to find, even if you just pick one audiobook about the industry you're in, you're going to be amazed how much it changes your conversation and what you're able to interact with. Oh, and we have book recommendations coming in. Go ahead and put some book recommendations in there for us. Michelle, I haven't read that one. I'm going to jot that down. I love a good book recommendation. Love it. Okay. It's on my list. Writing for work. Now, of course, the picture is literally writing with a writing utensil, but we know that we do all kinds of digital writing too, right? So we do the kind of writing that might be on a computer. It might be communication pieces internally. It might be external. Writing is something we just can't get away from in our workplace. Writing to take notes, maybe even when we're being trained or when we're in a meeting, maybe we're in a planning session and we're taking notes down constantly. And some people do that on a digital device where they're taking down their notes. Other people might write on a piece of paper. But writing for work is more than just getting that initial resume going or just firing off an email. This is thoughtful thinking about how to compose and communicate in a way so someone else can understand. This is closely tied to reading. So the more we up our reading habits, the greater our writing influence becomes. And just, a fun tip is practice writing with an actual writing device, a pen or a pencil. And you'll notice how when you're writing by hand, you do natural editing. So your brain is thinking faster than the pen can go. And so if you practice sending out a message, like maybe you want to tell customers about a sale and you're planning to do that on Instagram, go ahead and practice writing it out by hand. And you're going to find that you do some automatic editing with your brain to the time it gets to your pen that you can do faster and better, more accurately than you can do even when you're typing it out. So that's just a fun experience to see what would happen if I were to type out a message to a customer on a tablet versus writing it by hand, and what kind of word formation happens. It's a fun exercise to do even as a group or a team. Document use is one of the other essential skills we camp out on at Workplace Education Manitoba. And of course, we know in our workplaces, there's the idea of being able to complete forms, to interact with manuals. If anybody out there with an emoji ever have to do incident reports in your workplace? So an incident report, something's happened, whether it be an injury or a customer service interaction. That's basic document use that we have to know how to do. And how about the most favorite document? Who's got a favorite document? I bet it's your time card, right? We want to do time cards well. So this is a piece of customer service that often we also have to train a customer in. We might have certain processes on how a customer gets their information to us. Maybe if we send them a quote, they have to sign the quote and send it back. So there's a whole communication piece in service, recognizing, are our documents user-friendly, and do customers know what to do with them? And is there a way to get it back easily? I just had a company send me something to sign. So they sent me a big long PDF where I actually, the way it was protected, I had to print out this whole big long PDF to add my physical signature, only to scan it and send it back. Not customer friendly. So recognizing what's the relationship between me and my customer as it relates to paper or fillable PDFs and so on online. Important question to ask the process pieces within your own company. Digital literacy, this is our lifelong lesson we can never get away from. We'll never graduate. We're going to keep learning. Now that might be a new point of sale system in your company. That might be computers and tablets. Maybe you're in a scenario where you have a live chat or a live helpline. Most of our phone systems today in the office are digital. Maybe if you're in a manufacturing process, there's robotic machines that complete a lot of work. And so the whole understanding of our own digital literacy helps us to make connections with the customers in the way they're expecting. And typically they expect us to be one step ahead digitally. Now, don't forget about numeracy. I know, I said the N word, numeracy, or the M word, math. Some of us right-brainers don't like to talk about that. Crying emoji, anyone? Anyone? Or if you love numeracy, happy emoji with the heart eyes. Math for the workplace. Oh, thank you. Thank you, my people. There's some little tricks you can do, and sometimes it's about knowing estimation. So sometimes it's knowing, generally speaking, when I sell this product, it should be in this ballpark. Generally speaking, when this transaction happens, it should be around here. Maybe I can memorize certain landmarks where I know the numbers are supposed to land about a certain place. It actually strengthens oral communication, because if you're able to estimate what some of the norms are with your products within your company, your oral communication skills get stronger with your customers. And I love people like you, Kristen, who just love the math. Like, you're the kind of people I need in my life. And oral communication, this is so much more than talking to the customer at the counter or talking to them on the phone. This is so much more than that. This is really, how does this happen in the company? Because how this happens in the company is what the customer feels. And you all said that earlier. Michelle, number 4 was digital literacy. 5 was the fun math one. And you all said this earlier about how you can feel it when you're in an environment where they like working together or their oral communication is on point among colleagues. So it's recognizing that what happens in-house does affect front of the house that other people see. And this is closely tied to that. How do we work with others? Do we have interpersonal skills? Do we do one foundational thing every time we meet a customer to try to achieve a certain goal? Are we mindful that maybe the world is bigger than me and maybe it doesn't revolve around me? Am I in the posture to serve? And I know we touch on this after our break, but that's sort of what stinks about customer service, is it's really about serving. There's so many dividends and benefits, but if there's a stinky part, it's the part about the actual service sometimes, right? And of course, we have the essential skill of the thinking skills. And, you know, this is tested on you in your job interview. Think back to when you were interviewed for your position. They did ask you about what some of your technical skills were and what some of your experience was. However, they probably also asked you if you had thinking skills. And the way they asked you that was by giving you scenarios and asking you to show examples between what you had learned before and things you had practiced. So thinking skills opens the door for you to get a job, and thinking skills is what opens the door for you to succeed with the customer. And finally, here's where we are today. We're living in the land of continuous learning. So part of our whole posture in this whole experience of customer service is recognizing that it took a whole host of 9 skills to get me to the place where I could be in this job that I'm in right now. But now, to be successful, there's going to be a whole host of technical skills that I need in my workplace. And your workplace's technical skills and information and knowledge will vary from employer to employer, but there are some absolutes that don't change. And when we look at what employers are looking for, this is an interesting concept of Human Resources Skills Development Canada. On the left side, listed a number of these essential skills that we're talking about. And they rank them from most important to least important based on what employers were looking for. As it relates to customer service, this is specifically about a cashier job, for example. And they noticed that employees were saying, hey, the additional skills is really, really important. Things that exist like good hygiene, being friendly, being clear, watching your language, using helpful language, and the ability to listen. They ranked those as really high on the list. Next, underneath it, they said, hey, writing skills are huge. In the whole realm of cashiering and retail customer service, isn't it interesting? We don't rank writing that high when we think of a cashier. And yet this nationwide project to undertake it, working with employers, they said writing skills is right near the top. We need people to be able to communicate in writing because everything we do has a paper trail. Everything we do has a written record to some capacity. And isn't it fascinating? The math skills isn't even at the top of the list. We might think that's the cashier's #1 job, but actually in terms of skills, that's one that employers recognize we can teach that, but we may not be able to teach the listening, the language, the self-management. So those are the expectations we have on a worker before they come to us. Fascinating study, and we could break this out for all of your different industries. I just picked a retail one as a good example to show us that when we picture interaction with a customer, some of the skills that we need are like upside down. The pyramid is flipped on its top, and really the most important skills have to do with our soft skills and our interpersonal skills, not necessarily the really technical industry specific skills. Fascinating, right? Like, am I the only one loving this? I'm amazed by that. So looking at who are our actual customers, there's the whole idea of having internal and external customers. There's 2 kinds of customers. And that's something you can choose to do as we pause for a little break right now. In your workbooks on page 6, there is a place to fill in the blanks on who your internal customers are and who your external customers are. It's not just the person who's never met you before walking through the door who wants to buy your product. That's not your only customer. That might be an external customer, someone you don't have a relationship with yet. That could go in the external customer column, but then think a little bit about who do you serve inside your organization? Who do you serve outside of it? And maybe it's not even just a customer. Maybe it's even a supplier or a vendor where you're dealing with people who don't just fit the typical sales call bill. So this is our spot where we're going to pause for a break. I show it's 2:01. So let's come back at 2:06, so we have a good 5-minute break, and you can jot these ideas down if you want, or just go for a walk and do this later. So let's pause and have a break, and we'll see you in a few minutes. How great is this quote, right? Show me an emoji if you don't mind this quote at all. And this is often what we're feeling like when we want to share with a customer service professional who's treating us like it's their worst day ever. Don't we want to share this? Like, this is not a life sentence. Feel free to post this one on your staff room bulletin board for those who need the proverbial kick in the pants, as it were. Beyond those 9 essential skills that we looked at, I'm going to motor through 6 that a lot of the top customer service people feel are the most important. But we're going to go through these ones quickly because we want to camp out on the one secret weapon. And there is one trait that trumps every other trait. There's one that I do believe you cannot succeed in business if you don't have it, whether that's dealing with customers or coworkers. And we want to live in that land for a little bit, and we have a fun quiz to do with it and so on. So we're going to zip through these 6 top ones in the industry so that we can spend time on the really key one that will change your life totally. One of the top ones, of course, is friendliness, and many of you said this right at the beginning. And knowing that friendliness being that characteristic of creating an environment of friendship, sometimes we don't want to be friends with our customers. And I don't mean friends like go hang out in their pool, because I know one of our learners today has a pool, and we're still waiting for the invite because we do love the beach. But we're not talking about that kind of engagement with your customers. We are talking about creating that environment of warmth and friendliness. And it's really about helping the person to feel safe. So sometimes a customer has to be able to ask questions or make requests. And how do we create an environment of safety for them? Friendliness is hands down, second to none, number 1, and it always involves a smile. So if you don't deal with customers face to face, please draw a happy face on a Post-it note and stick it on your desk where you can see it. Because even when you're on the phone, if you make your face smile while you're on the phone, it literally changes the sound of your voice. It can be a total game changer in a phone conversation. So please do not forget this, whether it's face to face or virtually. If you're writing an email, put a smile on your face. It will change the way you write down the words that you're putting out. And learning to ask the questions, Amy. Asking the right questions so that the customer feels empowered and heard and not disempowered. I love it. And that's asking those open-ended questions in the spirit of friendliness, in the spirit of creating that friendship environment. We cannot underestimate empathy. The opposite would be apathy. Apathy being, don't really care, take it or leave it. Que sera, sera. It could happen or not happen, doesn't matter to me. We cannot underestimate what empathy does in customer service. So you may not have been in their shoes, and in fact, they might be experiencing something with your company that no customer has ever experienced before. But the empathy of their experience and what they might be going through, we cannot underestimate it. Now, Carrie has a cool link to pop into the chat for us, and it just refers to an article that I'd love for you to read later, where it talks about 12 positive phrases that you can use to show empathy for customer service. Now, you can go deeply into them, and I encourage you to actually write them down, because these are phrases that are tools for you, that when you're in that hot moment, when you're not sure what you can say, you can actually jot down these phrases like, I would be happy to recommend, or thank you for your understanding, or. And there's 12 of them that help you take something negative and put it into positive phrases. It's a tool you need to have in your tool belt. And sometimes if you're in the heat of the moment and the emotions are high, these are not readily available in your mind. So it's not weakness, it's actually strength and preparing in advance before the transaction to have these phrases ready so that during a transaction, you're reaching for them like you would reach for a tool. Another one of the professional qualities of a true professional is the idea of fairness. Now, fairness is not just keeping things fair, like if you poured one person a glass of chocolate milk, the other person gets a glass of chocolate milk with the same amount of milk in it. That's a thing. That's a true quality control issue that, particularly in the restaurant business, everything's done to spec so that everything's fair in terms of quality. But I encourage you to kick the tires on this one. There's even room to jot about it in your workbook. Fairness can have to do with maybe the concepts of ageism. Do you treat a teenager the way you might treat a professional? Do you treat a senior the way you might treat a peer? Fairness might be even in your own company's practices of how they deal with customers. Now, some of the practices might be out of your hands. For example, I heard a story the other day from someone who works at Shoppers Drug Mart. There's a new way to collect optimum points, new-ish, where you don't just use a card anymore, but you use an app on your phone to collect your company loyalty points. So they were serving a customer, and the customer was so excited because they spent $50 and they got like 50 kajillion billion points, and bells started ringing. Like it was just a big deal how many bonus optimum points they got. And like, show me an emoji, are not optimum points the best? You can totally figure out the math on how much money you have in your optimum account. I love my optimum points. But what happened was, the cashier's there interacting with a customer who was so excited about their 50,000 bonus points they got because they spent $50 or whatever the number was. And then the next customer steps up, scans their Optimum app, and had heard everything that had happened, but didn't get bonus points. And the cashier was telling me about how this Optimum thing works now on the app is you get specialized promotions for who you are and what you buy. So not all of us have the same bonus points on our apps. So it created this environment of a lack of fairness between two customers standing in line, recognizing one had access to a great bonus system of points and the other one did not have access to that. Sandra, I love it that you were a former Shoppers employee. I love that store. It's so awesome. And I do love their point system. But it's a great example of how sometimes active returning customers might experience certain treatment that a new customer or a customer overhearing a transaction may not be privy to. So recognizing there is a concept of fairness to incorporate, because as we can see on the screen, it's hardwired into humans that they just expect it. They notice it and they measure it. And when we forget it, it has these costly implications on our business. Now, here's a phrase to jot down in all your reading that you're going to do, because you're all avid readers. How about the phrase moral courage? Great phrase, and it's actually a thing. Moral courage is a thing. The definition of moral courage is decision making that does not take into account personal gain or personal self-esteem. So in this realm of customer service, do we have the moral courage to offer the fairness to the recipient of our service at the expense of our own personal gain or our own personal self-esteem? Can we lay that down to extend the fairness branch to the person we're serving? Deep questions, right? Like, this is deep thoughts right here. Now there's the whole idea of control. And this is something to really be astute about what your role is. What is within your realm of influence? What do you get to control? What is expected of you to control, not only by your supervisor, but the customer? See, if you work at a reception desk, the customer believes that you're in control of the front door. If it doesn't open or close smoothly, they believe that first point of contact is the one in charge of the door. They might even believe you're the one overseeing whether or not the steps were shoveled. Those may not be in your job description, but what is the perceived control that is on you in the physical place where you work that a customer might think you do have sphere and influence. You could be observing that. You could be exercising control to make the experience better. So we're not just talking job description, we're talking about perception of control. And then knowing, do I have an ability to change this? And if not, who do I call? Who's the next point of contact so that I can efficiently move a customer into someone's hands who does have the ability to control or influence the situation? And then, of course, being informed is the last one in this section, and recognizing that customers care about product knowledge. They care about information about your company, your culture, your industry, and that's really what gives them confidence about what relationship they have with your company. There's no reason why you can't be the best expert. If Granite Mountain sells countertops, why can they not be the expert about countertops above all experts? And if Decor Cabinets makes cabinets for kitchen and bath, why can they not be and sound like the experts on that topic that they are? So don't underestimate yourself. We talk a lot about humility and service in this workshop and in this series. But when it comes to being informed about your product, have all of that information. And this is just a glimpse, an overview of the kinds of things that could equip you to have the knowledge that a customer is expecting. How do your prices work in your own price structure, and how do they work in the industry? Where do you fit? Are you selling yourself as the most premium product, but your prices are the lowest? We got to know this, where we fit in the industry, and probably need to know the why on it also, right? Things about your company, about the product. The more you know about the history of your company, the more you can make connections with customers. Maybe the founder of your company grew up in Winkler, and maybe the company started out in a little hut in Winkler, and eventually it grew to a bigger office, and now it's a franchise across the nation. Well, if you're dealing with a customer in, let's say, Winnipeg at a head office, and that customer's talking about how they grew up in Winkler, you can make a connection about your product just because of history that you know about your company. Oh, did you know our founders built this company in Winkler? And this is why the idea came. The more you know about your manufacturing process and the history, the more it builds that relationship and builds the confidence that you have your customer's best interest in mind. The awareness of one of your shortcomings, just one, is way more powerful than being aware of 1,000 shortcomings in someone else. And this is our transition slide to take us into the conversation about the absolute most important, can't live without it trait, the foundation to success in customer service, the king of all traits. Dun, 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 dun. That good hard look inside. Self-awareness is what makes or breaks a customer service professional. Because let's face it, show me with an emoji, how many of you have lived through a crisis in the workplace? Whether a customer was super unhappy, or a production line stopped, or all of a sudden there was a huge drama. Have we lived through a crisis? Here's the thing, we always will. Yeah, how about in the last hour? Anyone? Good call, Sandra. We all are going to face this in the workplace. So the thing is, if we have an understanding of who we are and what we're coming in with, what our strengths and weaknesses are, what our triggers are, how we're wired, then we're able to control the emotions, zip the lip, control the tongue in the time of crisis. And we're the one who can take command of a situation in a way that brings calmness, respect, and dignity to a customer, because we're good here. We know who we are, we know why we're doing this, and we know what motivates us. When people understand themselves, they would be more in control emotionally and could adjust their behavior with others, so that a stress-free, congenial work environment is created. Now, this is absolutely huge. On the bottom of page 7, why don't you go ahead and give yourself a mark on the test here. It says rate yourself in terms of having a healthy self-awareness or a strong sense of self-awareness. Do you rate yourself really high? Are you a medium or are you a low? And we're talking like overall, can you trust yourself 5 days a week, knowing where you're at and how to recognize your various triggers and stresses and what to do with them? Now, your test answer that you scored yourself there, we're going to put it to a test, okay? We're going to make you prove it. So on page 8, I'm going to be silent for a few moments and give you a chance to work through that activity on page 8. So there's columns to check off as a response to each question, where you're going to say about question 1, I find that no, rarely, sometimes, often. You can give yourself a check mark in each of those columns. And I see, depending on the way your document's printed, my footnote on the document says page 8, but it may in fact be page 9, as Marina is graciously explaining to us about how her document came out for her. So go ahead and rate yourself. At the bottom of each column, add up your totals. So how many no's did you add up? How many rarely's did you add up? And once you have those all in a column, then you add up the whole sum together. But I'm going to give you a minute to go through, and then we'll do the math on that. And I've got some fun findings for you. Hey, awesome. I saw lots of emojis come down. So you should have some totals, right? Emoji me if this is making sense to you, where down each column you have a total at the bottom, and then you take that whole row of totals and you add them up so that you get one magic number at the end. So the lowest number you could have, I guess, would be 15, but you might be feeling feeling all kinds of results coming out as you go through. And actually in your instructions, I see there is a misprint where we didn't give you the scoring rubric. So we'll fix that for next time. Sorry folks, but there is a rubric on giving yourself the different points in each category. So let me grab that for you. Okay, so we're gonna up our math game, okay? So I'm sorry that your handout didn't reflect these totals. So at the top of the no column, could you write the number 1? At the top of the rarely column, write the number 2. At the top of the at times column, write the number 3. At the top of the often column, write the number 4. And at the top of the usually column, write the number 5. So my error in the misprint there, sorry that it didn't have that decoded for you. And now you just need to do a little bit more math where let's say you typed or you checked off all usuallys in every column. Then you would have 15 check marks times 5. So your answer at the bottom would be 15 times 5. So go ahead and do a little bit of that numeracy skills and come up with your columns based on this rubric for your points. I popped that in the chat for you so that if you do want to take note in your workbook, because you can do this with people down the road too, to come up with your different sums as a team. So look at Amy. I love that she's so brave and interactive, although you do share your computer for these webinars. So maybe you have someone else with you. I don't know. And Rena, Jen, oh, look at you. You're all strong workers here where any employer would love to have you. I'm going to walk you through a little bit of the results, as it were. When we look at the overview, if you're ranking yourself maybe 34 and below, you're probably in a realm where self-awareness is a new concept to you. And you want to do a lot more intentional learning about not only what self-awareness is, but trying to figure out what your own stress reactions are and how you respond to crisis. In that middle category, when you're finding your scoring is ranking between the 30s and the 50s, this is a little bit like typing speed, isn't it? Right? Like words per minute. 55's pretty good. So your self-awareness in that middle realm is strong, and it probably produces healthy relationships. But when it comes to conflict, it's saying that there might be a level of mastery that could still be explored. And when we're getting to the point where our numbers are adding up to 56 and higher, we're getting into that realm of expertise, where we're recognizing that no matter what the context, we have ourselves totally in self-management mode, and we can just put out fires with other people. And Amy, thank you for being brave. I love what you share in the chats, because conflict is most people's struggle. So thank you for being the first one to go ahead and say that. And really, really what we struggle with is that we end up with an emotional response to something happening, and we have to not only deal with the customer and make their conflict go away, but we have to deal with the internal conflict that we feel like jerks, or we feel embarrassed, or we feel like our company let them down. And notice I gave you a real life example that I didn't even plan. As I had you all going through this activity, I realized that the scoring rubric wasn't in there. And what did I do? I apologized and I told you, hey guys, that's me. I need to fix that. I need to get this workbook having that rubric in it for you. And I hope that created a sense of shared experience where you realized, oh, hey, Rochelle's totally screws up like every single day. She's just like me. And in those moments of conflict, like the self-awareness piece is recognizing I get to go do me and work on me and fix me and deal with my emotions from this whole situation later. But what they've appointed me to do right now is do that all for the customer. So I love page 9, or maybe Marina, yours is page 10. There's really practical tips in there on how to work on self-awareness. And not only is it understanding, but it's also physical management of taking the deep breaths, making sure we're actually breathing in those moments, and making sure that we can take criticism. In fact, go to your people who you trust the most and ask them to criticize you. Ask them what you can work on, because you know they love you. And that way, then when you're getting that rub from a customer, it's not just touching that sore, insecure part of you, but you're already equipped in advance. Because remember that initial definition of customer service. Serving the customer is before, during, and after. Notice my volume there. Before, during, and after. I have a question coming in from Corey. Would answering a question like number 12 in a positive way, where we rarely do not enjoy work, throw off our scores? Am I reading it wrong? Right. Yeah, I don't enjoy my work. Yeah, that's a good question. If you're reversing the answer on that, Corey, you're right. It could alter your scores, because you could answer the question, no, that statement isn't true. Or you could answer it, no, I don't like my work. So thank you for that input. I'm going to strengthen the wording on that question so that it is a lot more accurate. And honestly, in some of the customer service things we have to do, whether it's our actual job or it's just a task we've been thrown in for a moment or a day, there is an aspect to not necessarily loving all of the work that we do. Most of us have 90% of what we love to do and we're good at, and then we get 10% of the stuff that's like, ugh, I have to do that, but I'm going to do it because I love the 90%. So this is where self-awareness is so key, because if you're thrown into that 10% part of the stuff that really, really makes you uncomfortable, then you have to know how to self-manage to get yourself comfortable. So that whole how process is only something you do in advance. You have to practice these things, the self-management and self-awareness. You have to practice this before the heat of the moment so that you can not only master your emotion in the moment, but you have to be able to take away from it. Even somebody who's telling you criticism that's maybe it's a piece of pie, or it's a pie, and only one piece of it is true and the rest of the pie is fake criticism. It's knowing how to take that piece and appreciate it and do something with it in a positive way. One of the key concepts for us to get our head around, I hope you've signed up for the next few sessions to go along with this, because next week we actually dig into this, that part of the culture of great service are places that can work with culture. So come to next week's session if you want to talk about the service industry top practices. And this isn't just the color of someone's skin. You know, I saw a statistic recently that up to 10% of the population is colorblind. And that's a fascinating thing to know if you decided to color code all the signs in your warehouse so that whenever someone sees a red sign, they know what it means, and when they see an orange sign, they know what it means. If 10% of the people are colorblind, there's a whole concept of shaping your culture in a way that reaches and engages with everybody. So understanding also how hierarchy plays a role in this. This is a thing that we're going to dig into next week because we don't all work from the same place of understanding about hierarchy. Carrie has a colorblind one, and you wear such great colors, Carrie. I wish they could see them. So with that self-awareness, we need to attach some action to it, right? Knowledge without action is just dead. It's a wasted energy. So let's attach the action to it and look about how do we take control? How do we empower our behavior? How do we empower our environment around? And fun fact, ladies, sharing that, it's interesting. It does actually affect boys or men more than girls and women. So that's a cultural reality we want to be aware of. When someone tells you to go stand on the red line, we have to know if everybody is dealing with the same place of understanding. I want to go into this personal management piece because it's super fun about those pieces that you get to bring forward. So past your company vision and into who you are as a professional and what you get to bring to the table that they never even asked you to bring. It's all the unwritten stuff. But before we do, Carrie takes the reins again, and she's going to walk you into that quick survey so we can wrap up this portion. And I'm just going to give you that, spoiler alert that we still have this personal management section to talk about, and I have some recommended reading for you too. But I will turn you over to Carrie.
Oh, Rochelle, I've grabbed the wrong thing. I'm inviting everybody to a Zoom meeting, apparently. So if you don't mind throwing that chat into the chat, Rochelle, apologies.
No problem. One sec.
Thank you. So how's everybody enjoying this so far? Day one of customer service. Can we get a emoji for Rochelle and her amazingness? I love how we can create that sharing community with bringing in different reading materials and things like that. If there's anything else that you guys are working on or working with, please feel free to share it. Now, in the chat, we have our survey form for the post part of this session. And so if you could go ahead, grab that. Michelle will be being our tech head here and looking to make sure that we've all had an opportunity to fill it out. So let's go ahead and do that right now. It is the same. So this is a great observation. So thank you for noticing that. Yes, we want to know if there have been any shifts. Have you collected anything different or interesting that you'll be able to use? So what we like to do is to capture your learning from the beginning. Where are you coming in with? And then on your way out, is there anything that you've picked up along the way? So thank you for noticing that. Just waiting on a couple more people. It's kind of funny, like we have 4 sessions in customer service. How much more could there be said about it? But just you wait and see. We have lots coming up in customer service land. And as we've been able to point out, that's both with our internal and external customers. Yes. We are so close, I can taste it. Tastes like lemon ice cream. Okay, thank you. Thanks everybody for filling that in. Rochelle, we'll hand it back to you. Thanks everyone.
Thanks, we sure appreciate that, everyone, because not only do we get to share this awesome material with you week after week, but we get evaluated on it too. So we totally appreciate not just ourselves, but our bosses appreciate that they get to hear what are you learning, what's connecting with you, and it doesn't always have to be good. If you really hate what we presented, give us that good constructive criticism, because we're good at taking that also. Of course, we like the fun stuff. You know, one thing about this whole concept of personal management is that we share this part together. The one thing we talked about expressing empathy to customers, but as customer service professionals, people in the service industry that are trying to meet demands, prices, overcome competition, and do it all quickly and with quality, we have empathy for each other, do we not? If you have empathy for all the people who joined with us in our training today, shoot them an emoji. I don't know if there's a hug emoji or just a thumbs up, but we're in this together. And you know, one of my very first retail jobs was selling shoes back in the day, when the shoe person got down on their knees, took your stinky, dirty, wet winter boots off of you, and with their hands put on a new pair of shoes onto your stinky, swollen feet. And they don't sell shoes like that anymore. Now they just throw a box at you and let you go on your way. But that was my humbling moments as a teenager, to be on my knees putting shoes on angry, ungrateful, stinky people and getting treated like absolute dirt, and doing it with a smile on my face because I wanted the paycheck. And when we go through those things, it does something to us. It changes us. We recognize that maybe the world's a little bit bigger than just me. And we also recognize now with empathy the people who serve us. So since then, the people who've had to serve me in ways that are probably not their favorite thing to do. Even if I went for a pedicure, I just think, do people love giving pedicures to someone? I don't know, but I have so much empathy for them because I dealt with people's feet. Right? So it's taking the empowerment of what we know and what we've experienced, even when it's negative, and moving that empathy to our fellow workers as well as the customers. I love your sister-in-law. If she loves doing that job, I admire people who want to do that. And the idea of personal management, we do have courses at WEM also called Personal Management Basics. And there's the whole realm of communicating well. And how do you know if you communicated well? It's not just that you said it or did it. It's that all the people involved got the same message. And sometimes that's not just what you've given to the customer. Sometimes that's also what you've given to the employer, so that the employer has a record of what happened, right? So the communication might not just be in that during the sale moment, but it might be all the pieces, even reflecting on what happened with a customer. We cannot overemphasize enough the positivity and the professionalism needed. And in the communication piece, a huge part of it is listening. This is one that I've looked for when I've had to supervise employees. I love and promote the people who know how to solve problems. So there might be opportunity for you in your role to be able to just report back to management what all the problems are. And there might be an opportunity for you to report back to management on what some of the possible solutions are. So make it a practice to not only report the problem, but to also provide an opportunity. And sometimes it's within your sphere of influence to offer that to a customer. And sometimes you need approval on that. So a good entry-level example of solving problems would be Starbucks. You might remember when Starbucks was getting huge in the market, they were training all kinds of new employees all the time. And so Starbucks had a standing coupon that if you waited too long for your drink without you complaining, they would take your drink, slide it on the counter, and with it they would slide the coupon that says your next drink is on us. Did anyone ever get one of these Starbucks coupons because you waited too long? Back in the day, I lived in Vancouver and Starbucks was exploding and they couldn't train staff fast enough. So now you're all sad that you never got this coupon. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you that. But Starbucks, oh, Jen, I love people like you who gave them out like candy. I love it. So back in the day, this is how they empowered their employees to say, the problem might be out of your control. We might just be too busy, understaffed, undertrained. Who knows what the problem is, but we want to empower you to solve the customer's problem. So you slide them the coupon with the drink as the apology. Oh, I had no idea they discontinued that. I thought they just got faster. But what problems are yours to solve, and can you be creative about even proposing solutions outside of what you've been given to solve? So solutioning things is huge. And I just learned from one of my clients this past weekend, they were staying at a hotel and they had their vehicle stolen at the hotel. So hotel parking lot, it's lit up, it's supposedly secure, and while this hotel guest was not looking at their vehicle, which was locked and parked, it was stolen. Well, the front desk hadn't had to deal with this before. It was in a safe neighborhood. They've never crossed this bridge. They didn't know what to do. And so they worked on solutioning. So the initial point of contact was quickly apologizing and trying to find out solutions. And then they right away reported to their manager. And then manager is working with security, and security is saying, well, we have this all caught on video. What can we do to help the customer? And they didn't know. They didn't have a plan on this. There was no policy. They had to use common sense to say, how do we solution this in a way that helps the customer and helps protect our reputation as a hotel? So the security staff quickly burned 2 CDs, one for the customer and one for the police, that showed the surveillance footage of the vehicle getting stolen. And I think they worked on solutioning how to help the customer with an extra night at the hotel and stuff like that. So sometimes solving the problem is so that you can save the reputation. The hotel didn't want to be known as being a bad hotel or in a bad part of town, because it wasn't. It was a great experience. But the client's reflection on it was saying, wow, everyone jumped into problem-solving mode. Housekeeping, room service, security, they all went into how can we help turn your life around today because your vehicle was just so stolen and that really stinks. Do you want our shuttle to drive you somewhere? What do you need? That's the kind of problem solving where you think out of the box and recognize what's in my power to do and what other departments can I engage to help make this happen. Now here's one I hate, but I'm obligated to share it with you. One of the top personal management basics is about learning to multitask. Multitasking is a thing, and it is a fallacy all in one. So do not underestimate that you often have to stop and start in customer service. So maybe you've been told to do a certain project, but the phone is ringing off the hook and you're not allowed to let it go to voicemail. You have to answer the customer's calls. So there's this flipping back and forth between tasks and what do I do? So can you do everything at once? No, you can't do it all at once. So there is that personal management of being willing to be flexible and let some things go so that you can attend to the person who has the needs. This is something that has to get practiced, and this is something you may want to even talk about with your supervisor. What are the absolute no's? Like, nobody should ever wait outside longer than this amount of time, or find out what those are, because then it helps you prioritize right away how you need to do things. Now, in your resources at the end of your handbook, this is the topic that the activity focuses on. So there's an activity in there about an individual who's got multiple problems and decisions to do. And as you go through a scenario, she has to determine what some of the values of the company are and how to process this big return and complaint and so on, along with company values. So it's shifting hats and gears to meet the company's need and the customer's need. Please do not underestimate the image that you portray. We did a workshop earlier today where Carrie led us about technology and how to be a good webinar participant. And there were great laughs in there about how there's like a Zoom audio persona and then there's a Zoom video persona, right? So when you're on audio only, you might be in your pajama pants. When you're on video in a Zoom call, you're probably going to be a little more professional. Well, let's not underestimate that we could have a smile on our face. We could say all the right words, but if we look like we've just been in the backwoods and back and late for work and scrambling and disorganized, like it undermines that smile on our face. It undermines the image we're trying to portray. So in terms of positivity, there's the idea of personal appearance, and most people aren't going to remind you about your hygiene and if you want to just up your game or not. They're probably not going to remind you about that, but they may consider it. And posture and preparedness and nonverbal body language. What are we conveying without our words? This part is our responsibility, and this part is probably not in your training manual. And if you come to next week's session, we'll talk more about culture and diversity, but this is the part that takes like huge intellectual brain power to figure out, because not all body language means the same thing to all people. So this is a life skill that we learn trial by error, but it's probably not the stuff where your training manual says, when you're talking to a customer and you're both seated, please make sure you turn your chair and face them so that your knees and feet are pointed at them. That's nonverbal body language that communicates interest, but it's probably not in your employee manual. So in the realm of personal management, this one cannot be stressed enough that the whole concept of positive impressions goes way past a smile and into the preparation you put in to engaging in your workplace. This is what customers notice about you. You can totally feel the vibe. You can, even if it's not happy in the environment, even if everybody's stressed out because it's like short-staffed and everything's crazy in an environment, people almost don't care about what some of those weaknesses are if they can tell that you're working together as a team, right? That's who they want to be a part of. So these ideas of serving the customer, it would serve you well to really recognize that it might be all on me in this moment, that I'm the person communicating the message, but I'm a part of a bigger team. And that not only makes me want to promote them and make them look good, but it also makes the company look good. That this is a great place to work, therefore a great place to be, shop, do business, etc. I love the mission statement someone shared earlier from their company of how they want to make a difference in the world. I think that was the cabinet company, Decor maybe shared that, that it was about making the world a better place, making a difference. And Granite Mountain shared about how honesty and integrity are a key part of it, and respect and trust. And that's not just with a customer, that's with whether as a team we're building that. And the sad thing is, this doesn't always happen from the top down. Sometimes in middle management or in our little department, we can create a culture and an environment that's second to none, even if it's not coming from the top down. And I want to acknowledge a comment Jen made earlier about tea. It was not 36 Tea that messed up my tea order today, but I do give them a shout out. They're a great little business. And if any of you are in Selkirk, give them a chance. They're a delightful place to experience. And they do sell tea and coffee. And I love that Jen discovered them. That's just the coolest. And actually, this is one of the vibes you feel in that institution, right? That you actually can't go inside right now because of COVID. You order at the door. or at the takeout window. But when you're in there, this is totally what you feel. And I bet, Jen, you experience this, is that they have each other's back. And when it's busy, the manager jumps in and she's making the drinks and sweeping the floor and doing all that. So creates the kind of energy that people want to be around. How about this quote from this very famous mogul of entertainment? Do what you do so well that they will want to see it again and bring their friends. On that note of recognizing that what we do creates ripple effects beyond just the customer we're serving and into the people that they affect, I want you to be aware the whole word of mouth concept is huge. And I read a stat yesterday about how men actually share it more than women. That I'll bring you back the numbers on that next session when we gather. But the word of mouth factor for what men share about good business experiences is phenomenal, where it's mind blowing. That I think it's something like they tell on average 15 or 20 people when something doesn't go right. So we want to make sure that we're influencing in a way that makes people want to bring their friends back. And yeah, Sandra, you're so true. Like, we can share these stories of empathy and dissatisfaction when it doesn't go right, you know. And social media can be so crazy for that. So when we gather next session, we will dig into we've done the foundation today, and then we're going to go to another place of what's expected in the service industry overall, what actually influences culture, what puts you on the map as a company. And before you rejoin us for that, I encourage you to take a peek at the resources at the back of your handbook. We have things about understanding your emotional intelligence, how to increase your self-awareness skills, and even exercises you could do to that end, and more things on customer service training. A couple book recommendations. I noticed Michelle shared the title Untamed today. And then what was that one? It was called, was it Customer Service Revolution? Someone shared in the chat. That one sounds so intriguing. I want to look that one up. There is another book called Effective Leadership, a little pocket-sized book that's handy to have in your arsenal. It's by an author named Ken Lawson. And the cool thing about this little book is there's a whole section on self-assessment. So there's a whole chapter of quizzes on how do you do with self-knowledge, micromanagement, social skills, moral courage, pragmatism, creativity. So when you really want to dig into self-awareness, some good leadership books on that. This is one of the many tools. So dig into all those resources. With that in mind, I will pass you back to Carrie. I have to give you the hugest thanks. I love talking about this topic, and I cannot even tell you how encouraged I am that we had a whole room full of people today who make it their mission to make the world a better place with customer service. Like, this is just what gets me up in the morning. This is my hope for the future. So thank you for joining us today.
Yes, and thank you, Rochelle, for sharing your insights. And everybody, again, I echo what Rochelle has said. This is a topic that we are super crazy passionate about because of those ripple effects that it has. And really starting with self-awareness and knowing our own body language as well, and being aware of all of those things. So thank you for being here. We look forward to spending time with you again. And if you have any suggestions or anything, please let us know. We always love to hear from you. Thanks everyone for being here, and we'll see you next time.